Do you find yourself always rushing somewhere, always planning for the future, focusing on what's coming, but not on what is happening now? Do you have trouble being alone in silence and stillness? If so, then this video is for you. Hi, my name is Clara Kalindida Luz, and I'm here to accompany you on your healing journey. The things that I described are the ways that I was most of my life, always walking fast, rushing to get somewhere, planning 5 to 10 years into the future, and very much not being able to be in the present and not enjoying the present, not connecting to the present, and also always being stuck in my thoughts. And for many years I heard about, letting go of the monkey mind and being in stillness and connecting to your intuition, but I had no idea how to do it, and it didn't even seem like something that I could do or that would be natural for me. It's really in the last, I would say, 9 months or so that I started cultivating silence for myself. And over time, it's really becoming very life-changing for me. It kind of started by accident. It was one time I woke up from a nap last summer, and I recall that my mind was empty. And I was very confused because that had never happened to me before. There was always so many thoughts in my head. And I was just kind of taken aback, and I could ask myself questions and receive answers that were my intuitive answers. And this state of being lasted for several hours that day, and I remember I was blown away, and it was very amazing. And then, of course, it's not like it became a regular thing every day at that time, but now over the last few weeks it has kind of become that way. And if you watched my video about morning routine, I relate this feeling of stillness a lot to that, to cultivating silence in the morning, to really tuning in and realizing in the morning and during the day. And for example, the importance of taking time off or days off and just being very inward with myself. So these are very important because it is in that space that we reflect and we connect to our intuition, and it guides us. So in the morning, for example, it's very difficult for me to immediately begin speaking to, for example, see my children or to send a message to a friend. I started tuning in and realizing that no, I'm not ready to be speaking, to be, I look at this as output. I'm not ready to produce output for a couple of hours in the morning. And I cherish this time because it's really this tuning into myself. And so I've designated this time, and I have told my children that I'm not available until later in the morning. And it's been very, very helpful for me. So I think one of the things that needs to happen is we need to really set boundaries and create that space where that silence can happen. Because this bird is lovely, by the way, listening to it all day. There's a connection between the outward environment and our inner environment. And if we are surrounded all the time by noise, then we can't really cultivate stillness and silence. So another thing is that I used to always just be listening to music or You know, if I'm not speaking to someone, then I would have other kinds of input. And I started realizing and cherishing silence, complete silence where I don't have music playing, or I know some people feel comfortable with having a TV in the background or something like this. But instead of that, just having silence is very important, because it's very hard to listen to yourself and your intuition if there's either internal noise or external noise. And one of the key things, again, that I've mentioned many times is being in nature. And in nature, where there is this silence, and as we tune in, we start to hear a lot more things than we used to be aware of. So I have started to hear, for example, in the water, I hear just like the breathing of a seal, and I look and there's a seal. Or I saw 2 hummingbirds today, and first I just heard them. I heard the wings. You know, if you have heard hummingbirds, they make this very special whir sound with their wings. Or woodpeckers. I hear woodpeckers everywhere. And another thing that I started doing is connecting. Well, for a while I've been connecting to a few specific trees. But recently I have been able to sit with a tree, one of the trees that I connect with personally, and just open up and listen and hear messages from the tree to myself. And it's very interesting. So I encourage you to, you know, to connect to nature, to connect to trees, to tune in to your environment. It's a very soothing, comforting process. And really, it's all connected to just being in the present, being in the moment, focusing on what is right now, and observing without judgment. So there might be times when we are having challenges, but just taking a step back and just observing it as it happens, letting go of control, and instead of trying to reach a certain outcome, just being open to the process. For example, if I want to do creative work, well, normally I do it often in the morning, and I realize I really need to carve out a space of hours where I can really tune in and know I won't be interrupted to get work done. And sometimes it's a whole day where I just take the day and I don't push the work to happen, but I'm just open, and when it's ready, it comes. And one day I might be more ready to read, one day I'm more ready to write, and I just accept that and trust it and go with the flow, and also realize that there are ebbs and flows to everything. So when we want to be outward producing an external, we need to have that internal time, and it's really like a wave, and all of it works well together. And if we only try to do output all the time, we just get burned out, and it's very hard to be inspired. And really, it's also about trusting that if I'm still and if I trust, things will come, opportunities will come. I've also observed that recently when I realized that for several years I was not working and I wasn't ready to work because I was all my energy really was about healing myself and my children. And then in the last little while I realized, no, I'm ready to work now. And as soon as I started thinking that and feeling that, work opportunities came my way. It just happened. It's like when the time is right, things will happen. And when we are pushing, things won't happen because we're not ready. And so it's really important to tune in, to accept the timing, to accept that sometimes things are very slow. Sometimes we need years of slowness and working on ourselves before the outward things can happen. Just like when a bamboo grows, it takes 3 years for the roots to become strong underground, and it looks like nothing's happening, but it is. And then suddenly the bamboo shoots up. And I think that's how we are as well. So if you are in the stage of laying down the roots, just be patient. Just know that there will come a time when the roots will be laid and you will be able to shoot up and begin to put out what you've been cultivating inside. Thank you so much for listening, and I wish you a beautiful time of stillness and silence and listening.